su nombre y su correo electrónico en el chat y se lo manda a FPMC.
Again, as you come into the queue, mute your device, type your full name and email address in the chat, and send it to FPMC.
De nuevo, ponga su nombre y su correo electrónico en el chat y se lo manda a FPMC.
Ms. Ida, can you see if there's anyone in the chat that needs interpreting services?
Okay, ¿hay alguna persona que esté ahorita presente que necesite un intérprete, los que están en Zoom? Si necesita intérprete, por favor, déjenos saber. ¿Alguna persona que necesite intérprete? Isabela Alvarado, ¿necesita intérprete?
You said send it to FMP?
FPMC.
MC.
FPMC.
Okay. ¿Alguna
Type
persona
your full email address and send it to FPMC.
¿Alguna persona que necesite intérprete? Por favor, déjenos saber. La señorita Elena Rosa o la señorita Alvarado necesitan intérprete. Déjenos saber ahora mismo, por favor. I guess, I'll be here, Your Honor. So if somebody needs me, I'll be here.
All right. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the virtual session of the Forest Park Municipal Court. My name is Chief Judge Ronald Freeman, and I'm going to call your name. And when you hear me call your name, if you will unmute your device and announce your plea. Because today is your arraignment date, your plea will be not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere. If you enter a not guilty plea, your case will be set down on a trial calendar for a date in the future. If you enter a guilty or a nolo plea, your case will be adjudicated in Forest Park on today. Because we are virtual, there are certain rules that you must comply with. The first rule is leave your video turned on at all times. The second rule is there can be no hats or other things on your head unless they are there for religious reasons. The third rule is there can be no distractions in your background, and make sure that you have proper internet connectivity and that you are in a professional environment where there are no distractions. Understand, if you violate the rules of the court, your virtual session will be suspended and you will be asked to come down in person to the courthouse. If your video is not on, your case will not be heard today and your virtual session will be suspended. So when I call your name, if you will unmute your device and announce your plea, which will be not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere. So Ms. Green, are you ready to get started?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna start down first with Arnold Powell. Mr. Powell, if you'll please unmute your device. All right, Mr. Powell, you've been charged with obstruction of an officer. What is your plea to that charge, sir? Is it not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Nolo contendere.
All right, sir, have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
I didn't type my email address.
Type your name and your email address in the chat and send it to FPMC.
Okay, I got you.
Sir, do you understand that by entering into the nolo plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Powell, are you entering into this plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And sir, do you believe it is in your best interest to enter into the plea?
Yes, sir.
Sir, the court will accept your nolo plea to the charge. The fine amount is $430. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time to pay?
I need a longer period of time to pay.
Okay, sir, you will be placed on probation for 6 months. Your probation will end the moment the fine is paid. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
You understand that if you violate your probation, you will be brought before the court on a probation revocation calendar. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Here I go. I'm typing it right now.
And Ms. Yates or Ms. Green, if you all will let me know, or Ms. Payton, once you've received Mr. Powell's information. Mr. Powell, once you have typed your information in, you will receive your plea form via email, enter a NOLO plea and send it back, and then you will receive your probation forms. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Hey, if I'm able to pay my probation today, pay my fee today, will it be canceled out?
If you are able to pay today or tomorrow or within the next 29 days, your probation will end and you will not have to pay any monthly probation fees. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Yeah, I think I typed my email in wrong. Let me retype it real quick. My computer's moving kind of slow. My bad. Hold up. Let me type it in real
Why
quick.
don't you just tell us what your email address is? What is your email address?
Arnold, ARNOLD, POW at gmail.com.
It's POW twice?
Yeah, POW twice.
All right. Ms. Yates or Ms. Green, do you have that?
Yes, sir, I have it.
All right, Mr. Arnold, you will receive your plea form and then you will receive your probation information. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, sir, you can disengage from the call and thank you.
Okay.
All right. Next is Elena Rosa. If you will please unmute.
I'm unmuted.
All right, Ms. Rosa, have you spoken with an attorney regarding these three charges?
No, I haven't. I cannot afford an attorney.
All right, do you want me to see if you're eligible for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes, please.
All right. Have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Yes, I have.
All right, do we have her information?
I'm checking. Yes, we have it, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Rosa, you will receive through your email your plea form. I want you to enter a not guilty plea today, and you will also receive a court-appointed application form for me to determine your eligibility for court-appointed counsel. If you are eligible, I will appoint you a lawyer. Do you need any interpreting services?
No.
Okay, you will receive a court-appointed application. Once I receive that, if you meet the requirements, you will be given a new court date, and that'll give you plenty of time to speak with the court-appointed counsel. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
His name is Michael Stinson. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And understand that the city does have the right to seek restitution for the court-appointed fees. That amount cannot exceed $250, and the city will decide if it wants to seek restitution. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Do you have any questions?
How this form is coming today and I can send it back today?
It will come by close of business tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, and you all said we do have her email information?
We do, Your Honor.
All right, young lady, you can disengage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Next is LaBrenza Westmoreland.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Ms. Westmoreland. You're charged with following too closely. What is your plea to that? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
No, low, sir.
All right. Can you all tell me if she's eligible for a nolo plea?
She is not, Your Honor.
All right, young lady, you'd have to enter a guilty or a not guilty plea. It looks like you've pled nolo within the preceding 5 years.
Not guilty, sir.
All right, we will put you down for not guilty. Do you want this case to stay in Forest Park, or do you want it to be bound over to Clayton County?
You can make it guilty, sir.
Excuse me?
You can make it guilty. I want to just pay my fine.
All right, do you understand by entering into the guilty plea, young lady, that you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial? Do you understand that?
Think she froze, Your Honor.
Ms. Westmoreland?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right, I need for you, do you understand that by entering the plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Sir.
All right, young lady, the fine amount is $175. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
I could pay it. Yes, sir.
In 2 weeks?
I could pay it now.
All right. All right. So you will be given up to 2 weeks to make this payment. Have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Yes, sir.
Do we have her information?
Checking, Your Honor.
This is Ms. Westmoreland.
Yes, we have it.
All right, Ms. Westmoreland, you will receive your plea form no later than close of business tomorrow. Enter a guilty plea and send it back. And then you will receive a 2-week agreement. You can come down to the courthouse within the next 2 weeks and pay the $175. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Is this the address that's on the back of my citation, the Forest Park Municipal Court, 320 Cash Memorial Drive?
That is correct.
Okay, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You can disengage from the call, young lady.
Thank you.
All right. Next is Mr. Hall.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hall, what is your plea to the charges of driving while license suspended and failure to have license on person? Is it not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Guilty.
All right, let's see if you're eligible for a nolo. A guilty plea will further suspend your license. It looks like you are eligible for a nolo. Would you like to tender that plea?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that by entering into the nolo plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering into the plea, sir, freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
All right, is this the first time you've been charged with driving on suspended license?
Yes, sir.
Sir, the total fine amount is $695. Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
I need a longer period of time.
All right. Sir, you will be placed on probation for 12 months. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Your probation will end after 2 months of your probation will be mandatory. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
After 2 months, if you've paid the sum of $695, your probation can end. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
You understand that if you violate your probation, they can bring you before the court on a probation revocation calendar. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Sir, have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do we have his information?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hall, you will receive your plea form no later than close of business tomorrow, along with your probation information. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right, sir, you can disengage from the call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Alan Hines.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hines, sir, you have been charged with failure to maintain lane. What is your plea to that charge, sir?
Nolo.
All right, is he eligible for a no-low plea?
We're checking, Your Honor. That's Hall, Alan Hall.
Yeah, we're talking about Alan Hines.
Yes, he is.
All right, Mr. Hines, do you understand that by entering into the no-low plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And sir, do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you were waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Sir, are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Have you typed your name and email address in the chat, sir?
Sir.
All right. Do we have Mr. Hines' information?
Checking. Yes, we have it.
All right, Mr. Hines, the court will accept your no-low plea. The fine is $165. Can that be paid in the next 2 weeks, sir, or do you need a longer period of time?
It could be paid in the next 2 weeks.
Okay. You will receive through your email your plea form, to which you will enter a no-low plea. And then after you've done that, you will receive a 2-week agreement giving you 2 weeks to pay. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Sir, do you have any questions?
You said how long it's gonna take to reach my email?
It will be in your email no later than close of business tomorrow, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. You can disengage from the call.
Peace.
Next is Isabella Alvarado.
Here.
Young lady, you've been charged with not having a valid driver's license. What is your plea to that charge? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Guilty, but I changed my license back into the one it should be.
Okay, what was it at the time?
It was a provisional.
Okay. So what is your plea to this charge, young lady?
Guilty.
All right. Do you understand that by entering into the guilty plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes.
And do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes.
Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
The court will accept your guilty plea, young lady. The fine amount is $145, and once this is paid, this will be a non-reportable offense. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Are you able to pay this in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
I can pay it in 2 weeks.
Have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Yes.
Do we have Ms. Alvarado's information?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ms. Alvarado, you will receive your plea form no later than close of business tomorrow. Enter a guilty plea and send it back, and make sure you make payment of $145 within 2 weeks. Do you understand that, young lady?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
Do I can pay online or do I have to go in person?
You will need to come down to the courthouse, but the
That's
letter
fine.
that you receive will give you some instructions as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. You can disengage. Next is Nayeli Mata.
Good
How are you
afternoon.
doing, young lady? How are you?
Good and you? Good and you?
Good. Good. Let me find your matter.
Your Honor,
Yes.
pertains to this one. The solicitor sent me notification that he wants to continue this.
All right, in this matter, Ms. Mata, this case is going to be continued. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Yes, sir.
Do we have her information?
I'm checking now, Your Honor. Yes, I have it.
All right, young lady, you will receive notification of the continuance, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You can disengage. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, you take care.
You too.
Now, the next two people, I don't see last names, so I'm gonna start with Tanisha. What is your last name? I don't see it on the device.
Hi, I was here on behalf of my son, just making sure he didn't need me for anything.
Who is your son?
Lattimore,
What's his first name?
Kylan, sorry,
All right, thank you.
K-H-I-L-A-N.
I'll deal with Mr. Lattimore. Mr. Lattimore. Unmute your device, young man.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. I don't see Mr. Lattimore on our calendar.
Neither do we.
All
Hold on
right,
a second.
yeah. Was he supposed to be here this morning, or is he here another day? Supposed to be here another day?
It's for today. They changed the original date to today.
Okay, do you have a court notice or something?
Yes, it says March 29th at 1 p.m.
Okay.
And his last name is Lattimore, M-O-R-E,
L.A.
Yes.
and Khalil. Okay, we're gonna have to check on that one, Your
I
Honor.
have the citation
right.
number if that helps.
That helps. Thank you.
It's 683388.
83388. Okay, we'll check on that. Can you stand by?
If you
Sure,
want to
thank
stay
you.
on the line, all right? Does that take care of everyone except for Attorney Ruff? Because I don't see an Anderson Blash.
He's an older case, Judge.
Attorney Ruff, do you have some cases on the calendar today?
No, Judge, just Anderson Blash. He's an old case.
Oh, that's
We were,
okay.
I was helping him out on the
On
Clayton
the
County
calendar
matter.
today. Do you want to speak? You want to bind it over?
Sorry, you broke up on.
Are you saying you'd like for the
Well,
case to be bound over? What is your announcement regarding Mr. Blash?
I think we just need a chance to chat with the solicitor and see if we can resolve it. But it's pretty old,
Okay.
and I'm not sure if it was set for a resolution or just an FTA status or kind of where we were.
I don't know. The solicitor had another court appearance this afternoon, so he is not here. Why don't we continue this for another Wednesday when he's available, okay?
Sounds perfect, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, let's continue Anderson Blash
Okay.
for Attorney Ruff, okay?
Okay.
All right, Attorney Ruff, you and your client can disengage from the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, do we have anyone else in the queue?
No, Your Honor. We're just
All right.
checking on Lattimore's status.
All right, you want to check on that before we go to the people in the courtroom?
Yes, just 1
All
second.
right, that's fine. Mr. Lattimore, what are you charged with, young man?
I was charged with running a red light.
Okay, and what is your plea to that? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Not guilty.
Okay. Once they pull your paperwork, have you typed your name and email address in the chat?
Yes, I have.
All right, Ms. Green or Ms. Yates, can you all confirm that we have Mr. Lattimore's information?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm just talking, thinking you can hear me. But yes, he was supposed to be on the docket. He has a traffic control device citation.
He's entering a not guilty plea, so I
Okay.
wanted you to check and let me know if you have his email information.
Yes, I do have his email.
All right, so Mr. Lattimore, you will receive a new court date. Do you want me to keep the case in Forest Park, or do you want this matter to be bound over to Clayton County where you're eligible for a jury trial?
I keep it in Forest Park.
All right, he's entering a not guilty plea. He's waiving his right to a jury trial, and he will have a bench trial here in Forest Park. If
Okay.
we have his information, send him his plea form where he can enter a not guilty plea, and then we will schedule his case down for a trial.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mom, did you hear all that?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Judge.
All right, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we will see you all back here on your trial date, okay?
Okay. All right, wonderful. Have a good day. Thank
Okay.
you.
We both can
All right.
disengage. Thank
Okay,
you.
goodbye.
All right. Does that take care of everyone in the queue, Ms.
It
Green?
does.
All right, and you can start calling up people who are there physically in the courtroom. If there are any people that need interpreting services, can you call them first?
Call them first.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, Your Honor. William Escobar Campos,
And he's in what page, Miss?
page 4.
Okay, señor William Escobar Campos.
Sí, dígame.
Ok, estoy aquí para... ¿Necesita intérprete?
Sí.
Ok. Go ahead, Your Honor.
Okay. What page is he on?
Page 4, I think, Miss Yolanda.
And what is his name? William Escobar Campos?
Yes.
All right, he's charged with running a red light. What is his plea to that charge? Guilty, not guilty, or nolo contendere?
Señor Escobar, su cargo es de pasarse una luz, un semáforo en rojo. ¿Cómo se declara? ¿Culpable, no culpable o no lo disputa?
Nolo.
Nolo.
Does he understand that by entering into the nolo plea, he's doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Usted entiende que declararse nulo, usted lo está haciendo sin el asesoramiento de un abogado. ¿Entendió eso?
Sí.
Yes.
Does he also understand that by entering into the plea, he's waiving his right to a trial?
También al declararse nulo, usted renuncia al derecho a tener un juicio. ¿Entendió eso?
Sí.
Yes.
Is he entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
¿Se está declarando de esta manera por su propia voluntad y libremente?
Sí.
Yes.
And does he believe it is in his best interest to enter into the no-low plea?
¿Usted considera que declararse nulo es lo que más le conviene?
Creo que sí.
Yes, of course.
Let him know that the fine amount is $175. Can he pay that within 2 weeks, or does he need a longer period of time?
La multa son $175. ¿Usted puede pagar eso a más tardar en 2 semanas o necesita más de 2 semanas para pagarlo?
Ah, no, lo voy a pagar en 2 semanas.
I'm gonna pay it in 2 weeks.
Okay, tell him he will be given a plea form to which he will enter a no-low plea, and then he will be given a 2-week agreement.
Ok, le van a dar 2 documentos. Un documento donde se va a declarar nulo, va a poner nulo, y luego un documento donde usted se compromete a pagar a más tardar en 2 semanas. Ahorita se lo deben dar ahorita.
Okay.
Ok.
If he will please have a seat.
Por favor, siéntese a menos que le indiquen de otra manera.
Okay.
Thank you. You want to call the
Gracias.
next matter, Ms. Green?
Yes, next we have. Did Miss Adriana Laguna? Do you need interpreter services? Okay, I'm sorry, she won't need that. Maura Lopez? Yes, come on up.
That's on what page?
On page
Oh,
9.
I got it. Okay, page 9, okay. Señor López Mora?
Sí, señor.
Okay.
Tell her she's been charged with a failure to stop at a stop sign and a driving without a valid license. What is her plea to the 2 charges?
Ustedes lo acusan por no pararse en una señal de alto y por no tener una licencia válida para conducir. ¿Cómo se declara a cada uno de los cargos? Guilty.
Is she entering a guilty plea to both charges?
¿Se está declarando culpable a los 2 cargos?
Supuestamente nada más al de no licencia, pero dicen que me pasé el alto, pero no, en realidad no me lo pasé.
Just to the charge of driving without a license, they say that I ran a red light, but I didn't do that.
Okay, is she entering a not guilty plea to that charge?
Entonces, ¿se está declarando no culpable al cargo de no pararse en un alto?
Sí.
Yes.
Tell her that we will set her cases down on a trial calendar. Ask her, does she want me to keep these cases in Forest Park, or does she prefer that they're bound over to Clayton County where she's eligible for a jury trial?
Ok, como se declara no culpable a un caso, van a poner los 2 casos para una fecha para que venga para un juicio. El juez necesita saber si usted quiere que el caso se quede aquí en Forest Park para que tenga un juicio ante un juez, o si quiere que pasen su caso al Tribunal Estatal de Clayton para que tenga la oportunidad de tener un juicio conjurado. ¿Qué quiere hacer?
No, que se quede aquí, está bien.
I wanted to stay here.
Okay, then her cases will stay here in Forest Park and she will receive her new court date today. Ask her
Okay,
to please have a seat.
Los casos se van a quedar acá y entonces ahorita le van a dar una fecha nueva para que sepa cuándo le toca venir. Así que siéntese hasta que le entreguen la notificación de la fecha nueva.
Her matters will remain in Forest Park.
Ok, su caso va a seguir aquí en Forest Park.
Thank you. Can I please get the next person?
Okay. Juan Rodriguez Randall.
That is on page 13, Your Honor. Juan Rodríguez Randel.
He's been charged with driving without a valid license. What is his plea to that?
A usted lo acusan por manejar sin licencia. ¿Cómo se declara el cargo? Guilty.
He's also been charged with running a red light. What is his plea to that?
También lo acusan por pasarse en un semáforo en rojo. ¿Cómo se declara ese cargo? Guilty.
He's entering a guilty plea to both charges. Is that correct?
¿Se está declarando culpable a los 2 cargos? ¿Es eso correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Does he understand that he's entering this plea without the assistance of a lawyer?
Usted entiende que usted se está declarando aquí sin el asesoramiento de un abogado, ¿entendió eso?
Sí.
Yes.
Does he also understand that by entering the plea, he is waiving his right to a trial?
Usted también entiende que declararse aquí culpable, usted renuncia al derecho a tener un juicio, ¿entendió eso? Yes.
Is he entering this plea freely and voluntarily?
¿Se está declarando por su propia voluntad y libremente?
Sí.
Yes.
And does he believe it is in his best interest to enter into the guilty plea to both charges?
¿Usted considera que declararse culpable a los dos cargos es lo que más le conviene?
Sí.
Yes.
Let him know the total fine is $995. Can he pay that in 2 weeks, or does he need a longer period of time?
La multa total de las dos multas son $995 por los dos cargos. ¿Usted puede pagar eso a más tardar en 2 semanas o necesita más de 2 semanas para pagarlo?
Está bien, 2 semanas.
2 weeks is fine.
Tell him he will enter a guilty plea on his plea form, and that they will give him a 2-week agreement to pay the sum of $995.
Okay, le van a dar los documentos, uno para que disponga cómo se declara, que se declara culpable, y otro documento con el cual usted se compromete a pagar a más tardar en 2 semanas la suma de $995. ¿Entendió?
Sí, está bien.
That's fine.
All right, tell him thank you if he'll please have a seat.
Gracias y siéntese hasta que le indiquen de otra forma.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Mora Lopez, she had a question or concern. She wasn't clear on something.
What is her question?
¿Cuál es la pregunta, señora Mora López?
Solamente quiero avisarles que yo no voy a pelear por el ticket del estado. Voy a pagar.
I just wanted to let you know that I don't wanna argue about the stop sign charge, that I'm gonna pay for that.
Let her know that fine is $200 if she chooses to pay it, but I will leave that up to her.
La multa son $200 si usted necesita pagarlo, pero esa multa son $200. ¿Usted quiere hacer eso, pagar la multa de $200?
Sí, está bien.
Yeah, that's fine. But
So
she had another charge on her.
She wants to change her plea on the stop sign to guilty, is that correct?
Usted quiere cambiar su declaración en el cargo de no pararse en el alto, le quiere cambiar de no culpable a culpable, ¿es eso correcto? ¿Perdón?
Sí.
Yes.
And she's entering a guilty plea to both offenses, the driving without a valid license and the stop sign, is that correct?
Entonces usted está declarando culpable a los dos delitos, de manejar sin licencia y el no pararse en un alto, ¿es eso correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
Does she understand she's entering this plea without the assistance of a lawyer?
Usted entiende que usted está declarando a estos dos cargos sin el asesoramiento de un abogado, ¿entendió eso?
Sí.
Yes.
Does she also understand that by entering into the plea, she's waiving her right to a trial?
Y también usted, al declararse culpable, usted renuncia al derecho a tener un abogado, ¿entendió eso? ¿Entendió eso?
Sí, entendí.
Señorita Mora, ¿entendió que se está declarando y que está renunciando a tener un abogado? ¿Entendió eso?
Sí, sí, entendí.
Yes, I did.
Is she entering this plea freely and voluntarily?
¿Se está declarando de esta manera por su propia voluntad y libremente?
Sí.
Yes. And does she believe it is in her best interest to enter into the guilty plea to both charges?
¿Y usted considera que declararse culpable a los dos cargos es lo que más le conviene?
Sí.
Yes.
Let her know the total fine is $960. Is she able to pay that in 2 weeks, or does she need a longer period of time?
Las dos multas completas llevan un total de $960. ¿Usted puede pagar eso a más tardar en 2 semanas o necesita más de 2 semanas para pagarlo?
Lo voy a pagar hoy.
I'm going to pay it today.
All right, tell her she will be directed to do that momentarily after she has signed her plea form.
Ok, una vez que firme el documento de cómo se declara, le van a indicar cuándo puede hacer el pago hoy, ¿ok?
Gracias.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Green, you want to call your next person?
Okay. Let's see.
Put your address in front.
Jose Francisco Saldivar. He's coming. He's on page 14.
He has 2 charges, correctly?
That's correct.
Tiene
Okay.
dos cargos, ok.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Let him know.
Good
Ask
afternoon.
him what is his plea to driving without a valid license?
¿Cómo se declara a cargo de manejar sin licencia, señor, señor Zagarra?
Culpable.
Guilty.
He's also charged with the headlight violation. What is his plea to that?
También lo usan por manejar sin las luces delanteras. ¿Cómo se declara el cargo?
Culpable.
Guilty.
Is he entering a guilty plea to both charges?
¿Se está declarando culpable a los dos cargos?
Sí.
Yes.
Does he understand that by entering into the guilty plea, he's doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
¿Usted entiende que declararse culpable usted lo está haciendo sin asesoramiento de un abogado? ¿Entendió eso?
Sí.
Yes.
Does he also understand that by entering into the plea that he is waiving his right to a trial?
Usted también renuncia a su derecho a tener un abogado cuando se declara culpable. ¿Entendió eso?
Sí.
Yes.
Is he entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
¿Se está declarando de esta manera por su propia voluntad y libremente?
Sí.
Yes.
And does he believe it is in his best interest to enter into the guilty plea to the two charges?
¿Y usted considera que declararse culpable a los dos cargos es lo que más le conviene?
Sí.
Yes.
Let him know that the court will accept his guilty plea to the two charges. The total fine amount is $910. Can he pay that in 2 weeks, or does he need a longer period of time?
Señor Saldívar, el juez acepta su declaración de culpable a los dos cargos. Las multas total de los dos cargos son $910. Usted puede pagarlo a más tardar en 2 semanas o necesita más de 2 semanas para pagarlo.
Sí, le puedo pagar ahora.
I can pay it today.
All right. Ms. Green, the breakdown on the driving charge is $760. On the headlight, it's $150.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If this gentleman will have a seat, he will be directed momentarily.
Ok, señor, se puede sentar a esperar a que le digan cuándo tiene que ir a pagar hasta que ellos le indiquen eso, ¿ok?
Gracias.
Thank you. Next
Thank you.
we have Evangelista.
Solís Recio.
Yes.
Evangelista Solís Recio. That's on page 16, Your Honor.
Hola.
Buena. Hi.
She has been charged with failure to yield. What is her plea? Guilty, not guilty, or nolo contendere?
A usted le acusan por no ceder el paso. ¿Cómo se declara culpable, no culpable o no lo disputa?
No culpable.
Not guilty.
I ask her, does she want her case to remain in Forest Park, or would she prefer that it be bound over to Clayton County where she's eligible for a jury trial?
¿Usted quiere que su caso se quede aquí en el Tribunal de Forest Park, donde puede tener un juicio ante un juez, o quiere que lo trasladen al Tribunal Estatal de Clayton para que tenga la opción de tener un juicio con jurado? ¿Qué quiere hacer con su caso?
No, yo quiero que se quede aquí.
I wanted to stay here in Forest
All
Park.
right, tell her she's waiving her right. She will have a trial in Forest Park. Ask her to enter not guilty on her plea form, and she will be given a new court date.
Ok, entonces usted renuncia a su derecho a tener un juicio con jurado, entonces van a dejar su caso en Forest Park, donde va a tener un juicio con un juez. Por favor, llene el documento, cómo se declara, ponga no culpable para que le den una fecha nueva.
Ok.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you'll have a seat. You
Gracias, se
want to be
puede,
the next person, Ms. Green?
se puede sentar.
I'm sorry, is it Sosa Lugo?
Okay, Sosa, Lugo, Dulce, Osbelia, that's right below, wait a minute, yeah, Sosa, Lugo. Oh, she has,
Yes.
she has, oh, what is, there are 3 charges, but, wait a minute.
I only see 2 charges.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, you're right, Sosa, Lugo, yes, okay. Señorita Sosa,
She's
Lugo,
been
okay.
charged with failure to yield. What is her plea to that charge?
A usted le acusa por no ceder el paso. ¿Cómo se declara a ese cargo? ¿Cómo se declara? ¿Nolo? Necesita hablar más alto, señorita, porque no la puedo escuchar. Nolo.
She's also charged with leaving the scene of an accident. What is her plea to that charge?
También la acusan por dejar irse del lugar de los hechos donde ocurrió el accidente. ¿Cómo se declara a ese cargo?
Sí, estuve nerviosa, no lo.
Yo regresé había tráfico y regresé y ya no estaba ni la persona, ni policía, nada en mi lugar.
I'm gonna plead no because I left the place, but then I came back because of traffic. I came back to the scene of the accident, and neither the police or the other person were there.
She's entering a no-low plea to both charges. Is that correct?
Se está declarando nolo a los dos cargos, ¿es eso correcto? Ok, habla un poquito más duro porque no la puedo escuchar.
Sí.
Yes.
Does she understand that by entering into the no-low plea, she's doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Usted entiende que declararse nulo, usted lo está haciendo sin el asesoramiento de un abogado, ¿entendió eso?
Sí.
Yes.
Does she also understand that by entering into the plea that she is waiving her right to a trial?
Usted también renuncia al derecho a tener un juicio cuando se declara nulo, ¿entendió esto?
Sí.
Yes.
Is she entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Se está declarando por su propia voluntad y libremente? Yes.
And does she believe it is in her best interest to enter into a no-low plea for the two charges?
¿Y usted considera que declararse nulo a estos dos cargos es lo que más le conviene?
Sí.
Yes.
Let her know the total fine is $915. Can that be paid in 2 weeks, or does she need a longer period of time?
La multa por los dos cargos son $915. ¿Lo puede pagar a más tardar en 2 semanas o necesita más de 2 semanas para pagarlo?
Sí, está bien, 2 semanas.
Yeah, that's fine. 2 weeks is fine.
Ms. Green, the breakdown of that is failure to yield. The fine is $165. On the leaving the scene, the fine is $750.
Okay, thank you.
If you'll just ask her to have a seat, you can then have her enter a no-low plea and give her a 2-week agreement.
Ok, se puede sentar y le van a hacer para que firme su declaración de nulo en un documento y luego otro documento donde se compromete a pagar a más tardar en 2 semanas.
Entonces, ¿cuánto es lo que voy a pagar por todo?
Perdón?
¿Cuánto es lo que se va a pagar por todo?
What's the total amount that I'm going to pay for everything?
$915.
Está bien.
$915.
Sí, está bien.
Okay, that's fine.
Ask her to have a seat, please.
Siéntese, por favor.
I think is there anyone in here that needs interpretive services, Spanish interpretive services?
¿Hay alguna persona en la sala que necesite la asistencia de un intérprete de español? Por favor, déjenos saber ahora. Póngase de pie.
Nope, I think we're good, Miss Otta.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yolanda.
I'm gonna start at the top of the calendar, Ms. Green, and you can just tell me who is there, okay?
May I be excused,
I'm
Your
gonna
Honor?
start with, I'm gonna start with the smaller calendar first from courtware, okay?
Okay.
So at first is Latanya Marks.
Wait a minute. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Latanya Marks,
Yes,
FTA.
thank you. Next is Marquita Nelson.
Marquita was here. Where did she go? Okay, she stepped outside with the child, Your Honor. Where is she?
Next is Nakia Reynolds.
We had to reset him because he takes his license test next week.
All right, so we'll wait on Ms. Nelson to come back. Let me know when she comes back. Now I'm going to the other calendar.
Hold on, Your Honor, I'm sorry. Can you wake her? Yeah. No. You're, yes. She's here, Your Honor, she fell asleep.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ms. Nelson,
Sir.
you were charged with driving on suspended license and driving without, wait a minute, Miss, how many, there are 2 charges or 3 charges, Ms. Green?
She actually has a total of 3 because there are 2 on the old docket, 1 on the new docket, 1 was FTA, 2 was FTA. So we combined them all together. So she has 2 FTAs and 1 new charge.
And where will I find these charges?
The 2 that is on the old docket, and then Nelson on the new docket. On page 11 of the new docket.
I see it, okay. So we have 2 charges of driving without a valid license and 1 charge of driving on suspended license.
Correct. Without a valid.
Ms. Nelson, what is your plea to the charge of driving without a valid license on March the 4th, 2023?
Guilty, sir.
What is your charge of driving without a valid license on January 31, 2023?
Guilty, sir.
And what is your charge of driving with suspended license on January the 28th, 2022?
Guilty, sir. Yes, ma'am, I did.
Young lady, the fine, the total fine is, do you understand that by entering into the guilty plea that you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And is it your intention to enter a guilty plea to the 2 charges of driving without a valid license and the 1 charge of driving on suspended license?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that by entering into this plea that you're doing this freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And do you believe it is in your best interest to enter into the guilty plea to the 3 charges? Do you think it's in your best interest to enter a guilty plea to all 3 charges?
I don't know, sir. I mean, I did it then. I mean, I don't want to lie.
Well, my question is, do you think it's in your best interest to enter into the plea? If you do, you can say yes. If you don't, you can say no, Judge, I don't think it's in my best interest.
No, sir.
Okay, you do or you don't?
I
Do
don't
you need some time to think about this, young lady? How old are you?
31.
Okay, so you have 2 charges of driving on without a license and 1 charge of driving with a suspended license. My question is, do you think it is in your best interest to enter into a guilty plea today? If you don't, just simply say, I don't think it's in my best interest. And then I'm not going to accept your plea and I'm gonna set it down on a trial calendar. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So tell me what you'd like for me to do.
I mean, I did it, sir. So yes, sir, it is in my best. Now, it's not for my best interest because I don't want to go to jail, but I did drive with no
Well,
license.
if it's not in your best interest, I'm not going to accept the plea. Do you understand that? Because I need for you to feel comfortable with this plea. And if you don't feel comfortable with it, just simply enter a not guilty plea. Now, if you did in fact commit these violations, you will have to deal with this. Do you understand that at some point?
Yes,
So
sir.
what do you want to do? Do you want to go forward with this plea today, or do you want to change your plea to not guilty?
I want to go for it, sir.
All right, young lady, the court will accept your guilty plea to the driving without a valid license on March 4th, 2023, driving without a valid license on January 21, 2023, and driving with suspended license on January the 28th, 2022. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The total fine is $2,180. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Green, on the 2 driving without a valid license, those fines are $695 respectfully.
Yes, sir.
On the driving on suspended license, that fine is $900.
Yes, sir.
The total fine is $2,180. She will be placed on probation for 24 months. 6 months of her probation is mandatory. Every month that she's on probation, she must pay a monthly supervision fee. After 6 months, if she has paid the fine, she can get off of probation. Do you understand that, Ms. Nelson?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
Yes, sir.
What is your question?
Even though it's probably too late to ask, how could I be charged with driving on suspended license if I never had a license?
That should have been your 3rd offense of driving on an invalid license.
I
So
never had a license.
I understand. So the charge could be driving on suspended license or driving without a license.
Yes, sir.
All right. But why don't we do this? Why don't you stop driving since you know you don't have a license?
Yes, sir. I'm not driving no more. My
How
mom.
about that? Have you tried that?
Yes, sir.
You know, if you're charged with this again, they're gonna stick you in jail. You do
Yes,
know
sir.
that.
I just got out of jail for that charge. That's why I'm here.
Do you understand that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Ms. Green, I think. Okay, well, you're gonna enter your guilty plea to all three charges. They will give you probation information, 24 months mandatory. And you are to pay a fine of $2,100.
$2,180.
Yes, sir. So after my mandatory 6 months, I can pay it off,
Oh, no, he dropped. Oh, there he is.
sir.
Hold on, he's having some technical issues.
You gotta do the 6 months.
Mandatory 6 months, yes.
Right.
Okay,
But once you, after that 6 months, if you paid it all off, then probation's done.
okay.
Judge Freeman, can you hear us?
Say moving.
No, he was just moving. He was having
I'm just not
some
hearing.
technical issues earlier too, so.
Can't hear you.
Ms. Green?
Yes, I can hear you now. Well, I could. It's frozen in my screen.
Ms. Green?
I can hear you now. You co-host, right?
Hello, Ms. Green?
Yes,
Can you all hear me?
yes. Can you hear us? He can't hear us. Can you hear us?
Green, can you?
Technology is wonderful.
Yeah, if it works.
I can't. You can tell Ms. Nelson that she can have a seat.
Okay. But I'm,
Fill
I'm
that
on-
out for me.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir. So my fine.
All right.
Get your form right here.
Okay, that takes care of everyone on the court calendar. Now I'm going to the other calendar.
Okay.
Marquise Abram,
He's here, Your Honor.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Abram, you're charged with running a red light, sir. What is your plea to that? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
No contender, sir.
Is he eligible for a nolo plea?
Is he eligible? Yes, he is.
All right, sir, do you understand that by entering into the nolo plea that you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And sir, do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you're waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Sir, are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Sir, the court will accept your nolo plea. The fine is $200. Can that be paid in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
It can be paid within 2 weeks.
All right, Ms. Green, if we will give him his plea form to which he will enter a nolo plea and give him his 2-week agreement to pay the sum of $200.
Okay.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right, thank you, Mr. Abram. Next is Andrea Ali.
She's here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Ali, you're charged with running a red light. What is your plea? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
No.
Is she eligible for a nolo plea?
No, sir, she's not.
All right, young lady, you'd have to do a guilty or a not guilty. It looks like you've played nolo within the last 5 years.
If I plead not guilty, I can still pay it though, right?
You can, you'll just be given a court date for sometimes in the future.
Okay, I say not guilty.
Okay, thank you. They will give you your plea form. Do you want me to keep your case here in Forest Park, or do you want it bound over to Clayton County where you're eligible for a jury trial?
Here.
All right, Ms. Green, her case will be reset for a court date here in Forest Park, and the fine amount is $200.
Okay.
You see your plea sheet.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Treon Allen.
He's here, Your Honor.
Thank you. Can you ask Mr. Allen to please show his license?
Hold on. I'm sorry, sir.
You did things so bad.
Ask him to show his license, and what day did he get them?
Let me see that.
I had to get a replacement. I had lost them. I had to get a replacement.
Okay, so yes, he does have a valid Class C, and he just got it on the 3rd.
Yeah. I had lost that and I ain't had proof of address, so.
All right. Let him know that have him to enter a not guilty plea and this charge is going to be dismissed.
Put not
He's
guilty.
free to go after he's entered his not guilty plea.
Okay.
Next is Isaiah Bell.
Isaiah Bell. You're pleading not guilty, man.
I get this to you. Yes. I'm good.
Mr. Bell, what is your plea to the headlight violation, sir?
Guilty.
All right, do you understand that by entering into the guilty plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
The court will accept your plea, Mr. Bell. There will be no fine imposed. Make sure this does not happen again, okay?
Sir, thank you.
Ms. Green, can we get his guilty plea and then he is free to go? Next is Thurl Boyd.
Mr. Boyd, he's here.
Mr. Boyd has been charged with 3 different offenses. I'll take him through each one. What is his plea to driving on suspended or revoked license?
What's your plea, sir?
No low,
What is his plea to driving without a valid license?
no low,
And what is his plea to a headlight violation?
guilty.
Is he eligible for a no-low plea?
No, Your Honor, he is not.
All right, sir, so you're not eligible for a no-low plea to these suspendable offenses because it looks like you've pleaded in the last 5 years. Is that correct, Ms. Green?
Yes, 2024 driving while license withdrawn. Let's see what else. That's the most recent.
All right, so Mr. Boyd, you'd have to enter a guilty or a not guilty, sir.
Guilty, sir.
All right, do you understand that by entering into the guilty plea that you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And sir, do you also understand that by entering into the guilty plea that you were waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Sir, are you entering into the guilty plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir, on the headlight charge, the court will accept your guilty plea, but there will be no fine imposed. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
On the driving without a valid license charge, that fine is $760. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And on the driving on suspended license, this is the second offense. That charge is $1390. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
That total fine is $2,150. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you will be placed on probation for 24 months.
Yes, sir.
6 months of your probation will be mandatory.
Yes, sir.
After 6 months, if you have satisfied your fine, you can get off of probation. Do you understand that?
It's once I pay it off after 6 months.
After 6 months, that is correct.
Yes, sir.
Understand that if you violate your probation, sir, they can bring you back in front of the court on a probation revocation calendar. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I do.
Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me regarding the sentence of this court?
No, sir. So I ain't charged so much.
All right. Well, sir, thank you. And if you'll have a seat, it's because you've had multiple offenses. That's why.
I understand, sir.
All right. You take care of yourself.
Yes, sir.
Just fill that. Thank you.
So this is.
Next is Shakiva Brown.
Shakiva Brown, that's FTA, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next is Aubrey Bryan Jones.
She is here.
Ms. Jones, you're charged with the failure to yield charge. What is your plea? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
She qualifies. She has a clean driving history.
Young lady, what is your plea?
Hello.
Do you understand that by entering into the nolo plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial? Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily? The court will accept your nolo plea, young lady. The fine amount is $175. Once this is paid, it will be reported as a non-reportable offense, so it will not show on your record. Do you understand that? I need for you to say something.
Yes, sir.
All right. Are you able to pay the $175 in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
I can pay it in the 2 weeks.
All right, Ms. Green, if you will give her plea form, she'll enter a NOLO. We're going to reduce this to a basic rules and then give her a 2-week agreement to pay $175.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just step over there and fill that out for me. Thank you.
Rodney Carter Jr.
Rodney Carter, that's FTA, Your Honor.
Tiffany Davis.
Tiffany Davis, FTA.
Sindhu Fofana.
Sindhu Fofana, FTA, Your Honor.
Juan Gonzalez Zarat.
Juan Gonzalez Zarat, FTA.
Silas Harris.
He's here. And he has 2 tickets, Your Honor.
He has 3 tickets, it looks like.
3, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Harris, you're charged with failure to maintain lane, sir. What is your plea to that? Guilty, not guilty, or nolo contendere?
Nolo on all charges.
All right, is he eligible for a nolo plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand that by entering into the nolo plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial? Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
The total fine for all 3 offenses, sir, is $1,375. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Green, the breakdown on the failure to maintain lane is $175, leaving the scene is $750, and the obstruction is $525.
Okay.
Sir, are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
Longer period.
All right, he will be placed on probation for 24 months. 3 months will be mandatory. After 3 months, if he's paid his fine, his probation can end. Allow him to enter his nolo plea and then give him his probation information. Sir, you understand that if you violate your probation, they will bring you back in front of the court on a probation revocation calendar. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
No.
All right, thank you so much. If you'll please have a seat. Next is Charles Hodge.
Charles Hodge, that's FTA, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next is Daryl, well, no, Daryl Hood is paid. Catherine Hutchins.
Catherine Hutchins, FTA.
Thank you. Tyrone Jenkins.
Tyrone Jenkins, FTA.
Francis Jones.
Francis Jones is here.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, you were charged with failure to yield. What is your plea to that? Is it not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Nolo contendere.
Is she eligible for a nolo plea?
Yes, Your Honor, she is.
All right, young lady, do you understand that by entering into the nolo plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes.
Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And do you believe it is in your best interest to enter into the nolo plea?
Yes, I do.
All right. The fine amount is $175. Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
2 weeks is good.
Do you have any questions you'd like to ask me regarding the sentence of the court?
No.
All right. Ms. Green, her fine is $175. She will enter a nolo plea and give her a 2-week agreement to pay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Adriana Lugana.
She's here, Your Honor.
Ms. Lugana, you've been charged with failure to maintain lane. What is your plea? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Guilty, sir.
Do you understand that by entering into the guilty plea that you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer? And do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
All right. And young lady, do you think it is in your best interest to enter into the guilty plea?
Yes.
The court will accept your guilty plea. The fine amount is $165. Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Green, she's entering a guilty plea. If you will give her a 2-week agreement to pay the sum of $165.
Okay.
Thank you. Next is Marquette Lee.
He's here, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Going on, Judge.
How are you doing, sir? You are charged with 2 different offenses. One is not stopping at a stop sign. What is your plea to that? Is it not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Not guilty. Hey, really, I got a question though. I got the insurance. I got the insurance right.
Well, I hadn't gotten to that yet. So let's deal with this one first. So that one's not guilty. And then on the insurance charge, did you have valid insurance at the time of the stop?
Yeah.
Okay, well, because you've entered a not guilty to one, then both of them will need to be kept together. So do you want me to keep these cases in Forest Park, or do you want me to bind these over to Clayton County where you're eligible for a jury trial?
Go ahead and bind the Clayton County.
Okay, Ms. Green, we're going to bind both of his cases over to Clayton County. Please verify his address and have him to enter a not guilty plea to both offenses.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hold on, fill this out for me with your current mailing address.
Alvaro Lagara.
Alvaro Lagara is FTA.
Next is Rodnetta London.
Rodnetta London, FTA, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next is Joseph McGee.
Joseph McGee, FTA.
Alexis Morrison.
Morrison, FTA.
Thank you. Santos
Navarro.
Navarro.
He's here. Navarro? Okay. Did he finish again?
Does he need interpreting services?
No, I'm good. Thank you, sir.
All right, sir, you've been charged with without a valid license. What is your plea? Guilty, not guilty, or nolo contendere?
Guilty. 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 How do you say guilty?
Guilty?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. He froze again.
Just a second.
Email. I don't do the email thing.
No, because his is bound over.
Yeah. Okay. Him.
Is your thing? You good on everything?
Who that? Okay, he may be trying to log back in now. Do I have you? Oh, you have calls. He's gonna try to log back in. Where is he though? Who? Bear with us one moment. I'm sorry.
I work in computer science.
Here he comes.
All right, Ms. Green?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what is Ms. Navarro's plea?
He pled guilty
All right, does he understand? Does he need interpreting services?
He said no, he understands.
All right, do you understand that you're entering this plea without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering this plea, Mr. Navarro, freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And sir, do you believe it is in your best interest to enter into the guilty plea?
Yes, sir.
The court will accept your guilty plea. The fine amount is $795. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
I pay now.
All right. You will be directed to court after this session has ended. If you will please have a seat. Ms. Green, if you'll have him to go ahead and enter his guilty plea on the plea form.
Yes, sir.
Next is Nam Nguyen.
He's here.
How you doing?
Mr. Nguyen, what is your plea to the loitering charge, sir?
No low, sir.
Is he eligible for a no-low plea?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nguyen, do you understand that by entering into the no-low plea, you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yeah.
Do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial? I need for you to say something.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you entering this plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And do you believe it is in your best interest to enter into the no-low plea?
Yes, sir.
Sir, the court will accept your no-low plea to the loitering charge. The fine is $430. Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
God, it's $430 for this?
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Oh, yes, sir. I've had 2 weeks, sir.
All right. Ms. Green, he will enter a no-low plea, and we will give him 2 weeks to pay the sum of $430.
Okay.
Next is Thai Nguyen.
That's.
She paid.
Oh, she paid.
She paid.
Okay.
Next is Philip Page.
Philip Page, that's FTA.
Thank you. Next is Asia Reeves.
Asia Reeves, FTA.
Thank you. Next is Vanessa Sagara.
Cigar, last name Cigar, FTA, Your Honor.
Next is Sam Sarif.
Sam Sarif, FTA.
Thank you. Next is Maya Salni.
Maya Solney is FTA.
Ali Shepherd.
Mr. Shepherd is here.
Thank you. Mr. Shepherd, what is your plea to the following two closely charged, sir?
Not guilty.
Let me do this. Let me do this. Yeah. Have you spoken with an attorney regarding these charges, especially the DUI charge?
Yes, sir.
Have you hired yourself a lawyer?
No, sir.
Are you able to hire a lawyer, or do you want me to appoint you one?
Could I get one appointed? He told me $5,000.
Okay, Miss Green, can we give him a court-appointed application? And if he meets the requirements, we're going to appoint Michael Stinson.
He should have, I think he filled it out while he was waiting.
Okay, if I can see that to see what income does he show?
Can I see that, sir? Thank you. 1,700 monthly.
And what, 1,700 monthly, is that all the income you have coming in, sir?
Yes, sir. I had to quit my other job.
Okay, sir, it does sound like you meet the threshold. I will further review the application, but right now I'm going to appoint Michael Stinson to represent you. Do you understand that?
Sir.
Understand the city does have the right to seek restitution for the court-appointed fees, but that amount cannot exceed $250. Do you understand that?
Sir.
So you will enter a not guilty plea to all 3 charges. We will give you a new court date and we will provide you with Mr. Stinson's information and we will provide his office with your information. So let's make sure we get his accurate email address and cell phone number, Ms. Green.
Okay, yes, sure.
Thank you. Joseph Snowden is next.
You're good to go. We already got all your information. You're good. Thank you.
They're gonna send everything I need in my address.
He's gonna reach out to you. We're gonna finish processing that today. But
Joseph
Michael
Snowden.
Sims-
FTA, Your Honor.
Thank you.
No problem. Have a good day.
All right.
Next is Antoine Stowers.
He's here, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Stowers, you've been charged with a loitering charge, sir. What is your plea? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Not guilty.
Thank you. Sir, they will give you a new court date for Forest Park. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
That will be your trial date. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So if there's some witnesses you need to subpoena or documents you need, make sure you have all of that in court on your trial date. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Can we give him his plea form when he's entered a not guilty plea?
You have that in your hand?
Have your plea form?
The form he gave you to fill out.
I ain't getting no form.
Okay, step over here for me, okay? Thank you.
Next is Jorge Tapia Hernandez.
Jorge Hernandez, FTA, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next is A. Thaw.
FTA, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next is Nicole Upton.
She's here, Your Honor.
Good evening, Your Honor.
Good evening, Ms. Upton. You've been charged with driving on suspended license. What is your plea? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
I didn't know they were suspended, so I don't know what to plead.
Well, you can always enter a not guilty plea and find out why they were in suspension, but if they were in suspension at
called
some
out
point, you will need to deal with it.
They said that, back in December that I failed to appear in court for passing the stop sign.
Then that's what will do it. That's what suspended them. So what is your plea? Guilty, not guilty, or I don't know if you're eligible? All right, you're entering a guilty plea.
So I get, because I'm guilty.
Do you understand that by entering into the guilty plea that you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir. Correct.
And do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering into the plea freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir. Correct.
The court will accept the plea. Does she have any previous driving on suspended license offenses?
No,
She's
sir.
checking now.
I'm sorry. That's fine.
No,
All right, young lady, the fine amount is $795. Can you pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need to pay it while being on probation?
Yes, I was talking to the officer about it. I need to be on probation and see if I can like work out community service or something.
All right, you'll be placed on probation for 12 months. 2 months of your probation will be mandatory, and
Yeah.
they'll have you to fill out a financial affidavit, and if you meet the requirements for community service, you will get it. Do you understand that?
Sir.
All right, Ms. Green, if she'll enter a guilty plea, and then we'll provide her with her probation information, 12 months probation, 2 months mandatory.
yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good day.
Thank you. The next one is Kirkland Varnado.
Kirkland Bernardo is FTA, Your Honor.
Next is Nahal Vora.
He's here, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you doing, sir? You've been charged with running a red light. What is your plea? Not guilty, guilty, or nolo contendere?
Not guilty, sir.
Thank you. Do you want me to keep this case in Forest Park, or would you prefer to have a jury trial over Clayton County?
What's the difference?
You'll have a bench trial here, which is a trial without a jury. Instead, a judge will determine your guilt or innocence. Or your case can be sent over to Clayton County where you're eligible for a jury trial if you decide to have one.
No, sir. I'd like to keep it here.
All right. Ms. Green, he's entering a not guilty plea. He's waiving his right to a jury trial, and his case will be here in Forest Park.
Okay.
If you will have a seat, thank you, sir. Next is Latira White.
Natira White is FTA, Your Honor.
Next is Kalaja Wilson.
Wilson is FTA, Your Honor.
Next is Martius Wise.
Wise is here. What's his last name?
Mr. Wise, you're charged with an offense of failure to yield. What is your plea to that, sir?
Oh, no.
And your second charge is a tag violation. What is your plea to that?
I got that fixed.
If it was not correct on that day, sir, you know it goes by that day.
No, I did. I got it fixed. Is that same day?
Was it fixed at the time of the stop or did it get fixed after the time of the stop?
Oh, after?
Okay. So tell me, what is your plea?
Oh, no.
Does he qualify for no? Wise. Is George stuck with him? Looks like his brother. Okay, you're good to go. Thank you, ma'am.
So, Mr. Wise, what is your plea to the tag charge, sir? Is that not guilty?
No, too. I mean, I guess.
I'm sorry, young man, I can't hear you. What is your plea to that?
No, I mean, I can do Lolo too.
You want to do a NOLO to both offenses?
Yeah.
Okay. Is he eligible for a NOLO plea?
Yes, he is, Your Honor.
All right. Do you understand that by entering into the NOLO plea that you're doing this without the assistance of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
And do you also understand that by entering into the plea that you are waiving your right to a trial?
Yes, sir.
Are you entering into the plea, young man, freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
All right, the total fine for both offenses are $325. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to pay that in 2 weeks, or do you need a longer period of time?
No, I can pay that in 2 weeks. That's all.
All right, so on the failure to yield, that fine is $175, Ms. Green. On the tag charge, it's $150.
Even if I got the tag?
Yes, it just makes it a non-reportable offense, young man.
No, that's correct.
Okay. So, Ms. Green, he's entering a NOLO plea. If you will give him a 2-week agreement to pay the sum of $325.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Next is Stephanie Woodard.
Stephanie Woodard is FTA.
All right, and that takes care of everyone on the calendar.
Yes, but we have Mr. Stowers. He had another question for you, Your Honor.
Hey, Your Honor.
How are you doing, Mr. Stowers?
I am a homeless black male, 50 years old, and I got screwed out of $100 last year. That's how I got this loitering charge, because I was grocery store of the said owner of the property. And I've been told by some of the police in the community that I can do a small claim suit. And I don't got no money for no lawyer. And I'm trying to see what I need to do when I leave from here today.
Well, if you want to do a small claims court, you can go to the court and fill out a pauper's affidavit and see if they will waive your filing fees.
And then what about like where I go for like a public defender though before I do that though?
Well, for a small claims court, you won't have a public defender because that's a civil side. Now, you can always try the Atlanta Legal Aid to see if they can assist you.
Yeah, because I'm homeless and I'm getting.
Then you may want to try that. You may want to try that. You understand that? But I think you do need to speak with an attorney. I would recommend that, okay?
So you like go to a lawyer's office, you saying?
Well, I would try the Atlanta Legal Aid.
Atlanta Legal Aid.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Your Honor. Oh,
You good to go.
thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Who do we have left, Ms. Green?
That's it, Your Honor. We're gonna see.
Okay. Well, how is everyone doing?
Let me stop everything.
Affidavit, you would request that there, or you can go to that.